Hi, I'm Max Spainhour.
And I'm Troy McCormick. Welcome to Indiana Outdoor Adventures. Indiana Outdoor Adventures is brought to you by High-Tech Firearms and Training, Haubrey Forestry Consulting, managing your timber and wildlife resources, Derby City Game Calls, it's your call, Lawrence County Tourism Commission, discover an unexpected destination, Hillbilly Custom Game Calls, and Fire Knock, the most advanced lighted knock. Welcome to Indiana Outdoor Adventures. Today we're joining a flint knapping group to learn a little bit about changing a chunk of chert into a projectile point or a spear point or what you would normally think of as an Indian arrowhead or a hunting weapon. Mm-hmm. And this is a group that likes to practice working with flint and using almost reviving the old technique of flint knapping. Doyle, let's take a look at what you might start with when you wanted to make an arrowhead or a spear point or a ceremonial blade. Mm-hmm. What have you got here in your lap?
This is a piece of Indiana hornstone, and this weighs about 30 pounds, and it has a cortex over it, and then the flint inside. And what we would do from here is we would take a hammerstone and find a location that we could strike it and break this into a lot smaller pieces that are more workable, that we can manage, and to get the size point that we're going to work on.
You just don't take a big nodule like that, crack it a couple times, and end up with a spear point.
No. It's a lost art because you have to learn to read the rock. You have to look for your ridges and your platforms, and if you don't have a platform, you have to learn to set a platform up to where you can achieve the flake that you're trying to remove.
Okay. Now, we talked a little bit before about the tools that you're using. Mm-hmm. What's kind of the first step in the process? Do you use a hammerstone, or how do you take a piece off the nodule, mm-hmm. Break away the cortex, and get to a piece that you're going to form?
Well, on a piece this big, I would use a big hammerstone and position it and look for a natural edge along here, and you would come down and strike it, and you would drive off a big piece down through here. And then I've laid out some smaller pieces that we can look at. You get it from that stage, and then you go down to this. And when you get down to a stage like this, you have a lot of natural platforms, and you want to look at the way the stone lays, and you have natural ridges that occur once you beat it down. And you got one here and this little problem area.
You're kind of looking for imperfections too.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you don't want those in there.
Yeah, because you don't want to spend a half an hour to 45 minutes working on a blade and lose it and have it break on you in the middle. It gets a little aggravating, now, frustrating.
From an artistic point of view, mm-hmm. do you take the material and decide what you're going to make, or do you start to create a piece and then it has a life of its own, and you maybe start it out, I'm going to make a big ceremonial blade, and all of a sudden, this is looking like it's going to make a real nice Clovis mm-hmm. replication point or something like that?
Well, what I try to do most of the time is I take the material that I have that I've spalled down to this size, and I will try to make the biggest point possible. And then if I break it, I get two. But
start big, work your way
down to the material and size. What I normally do is, I look at it like this, and on this particular piece, I would try to make my point in this direction and work it and keep it as wide as possible. But you never know what you're going to find once you get inside, because you could have a quartz pocket, you could have a previous fracture, little imperfections that you run into, and it could cause the stone to break on no fault of my own, but simply because there's an imperfection somewhere in the stone. Like right here, there's a crack that runs right through here. And
you risk that anytime you have any quartz embedded in it or like you say, there might be an unknown hairline fracture in there
Yes.
that you discover while you're working your way through the stone.
Yeah, because when you take a big piece like that and you have to hit it, I mean, you have to build up a tremendous force to get that piece to release. And you're sending sound waves through that rock that could set up fractures in it, especially if you don't get it to release in one hit. The more times you hit it, the more fractures you send through it.
Sure.
So.
And when we're hitting big pieces like this, we're using do you have a hammerstone?
Yes, I do.
When we're using something like a hammerstone and we're hitting that piece, that's a percussion break.
Yep, percussion.
Versus when we get into fine tuning and we're using the
Issues.
copper small pieces. What's the little point?
The issue stick is what I use.
Issue stick?
Yep.
Okay. That's more of a pressure flaking process.
Yeah, that is when you get down to, you're trying to finish out your point.
Now, a good hammerstone has personality to it.
Yeah, it has a feel to it, yeah.
And it has a feel that you kind of, when you go looking for a hammerstone, you want something to fit your hand.
Yep, and feels good to you.
You feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think you could show us a few
Sure.
of those? Now, this is a true test of an instructor. Doyle's going to show me how to take a few flakes off of this piece that we've got right here. I've always wanted to try flint knapping, so we're going to see what happens. He's putting a lot of marks on here. I don't know exactly what they are. I don't know if it's hieroglyphs that have some secret meaning as to hit here and it'll make that magically come off.
Well, sure.
I'll use whatever help I can get.
Now, we're going to work on this area here,
Okay.
and then we got to have a flake here. And what we're looking for is these ridges.
Got it.
This ridge, when you strike this on this side, this ridge will come down, and I kind of put a little mark to where I think the flake will release.
Around this piece here on this ridge is going to release off of here.
Yeah.
When I strike it on the other side. Okay.
Take your tool, and what we will do is we will set this up here and here. And we can chip this away later, but you have another preform right here. And we probably won't need it. Okay, and what I like to do is hold the stone in my hand, and I rest my hand here. Now,
You want it rested about like this?
yeah.
Okay.
And the reason is a lot of people have a tendency to where they want to drop. They're up here, and when they go to swing, they roll the wrist, and you lose your angle. And the angle on this is everything.
Okay.
It's based on concordial fracture.
Okay.
And when you
I'm
swing,
going to try and hold it like this, but I want to do kind of a follow through on my swing.
yes,
And not just pound like I was going to hammer a nail.
Exactly.
We want to follow through. Let's see what happens.
well, the flake went, and it went down to here
took-
where I said it would.
Where he marked it.
How about that? It actually took it out where he said, right where he had it marked.
Yeah. Now we have another every time you release a flake, you create another ridge, and that ridge is along here.
Okay.
So what I'll have you do is chip this back,
Okay.
and then the next flake should come down.
So we'll turn that like that.
Yeah, and this ridge here comes in,
Got that.
and it should come down to here. But you tap this back a little bit to create a stronger platform, and then we will abrade that.
You know what? Let's bring the other flint nappers in and let's get a group flint napping session underway with Doyle leading us in our hammer strikes. High-Tech Firearms and Training is your southern Indiana source for all of your hunting and shooting supplies and firearms. We have a fully stocked selection of handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, ammunition, bows, and archery supplies. Firearm training and personal protection classes are offered by NRA certified instructors in our in-house training center. Remember, shoot often and carry safely. High-Tech Firearms and Training is conveniently located in Sellersburg, Indiana. Follow Indiana Outdoor Adventures online with Facebook, Twitter, and our website. Stay up to date with our exciting adventures as we're out in the field filming and meeting new people. From news updates and announcements to Twitter posts by co-host Troy McCormick. Why wait until the next season of shows when you can follow us as we're filming them? Join us online to get the most current news on Indiana Outdoor Adventures. Hillbilly Custom Game Calls, offering the finest and precision-made diaphragm mouth calls for wild turkey hunting. Each call is handmade and gauge stretched for exact tension each and every time. Select from double and triple reed calls like you've never heard before. We also have an assortment of handmade wood box calls, glass and slate top pot calls, and predator calls that will make us your source for all of your custom game call needs. Look for us online at www.hillbillygamecalls.com.
If you've dreamed of a western big game hunt or a summer vacation, Wind River Outfitters, Idaho's finest guide service, offers exciting fully guided hunts for elk, mule deer, black bear, and mountain lion, as well as summer fishing trips in the Gospel Hump Wilderness area of central Idaho. Accessible only by foot or horseback, the area reserved exclusively for Wind River Outfitters provides exceptional hunting opportunities. You'll enjoy hunting on a whole new level. Visit www.windriveroutfitters.com for more information.
Doyle, why don't you tell me who you've got napping with you today?
I have Danny and Greg. We met, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We shoot at the Indiana traditional bow hunters together, and we got into shooting self bows, long bows, recurves, and they got interested in it, and they knew I'd done this, and they had contacted me wanted to take lessons and learn how the process is and just see what it takes to make an arrowhead. And we actually hunt with our own points. We make our bows and arrowheads. We strip turkey feathers, make our own archery equipment that we can use to harvest game the way the Indians did.
Troy, we got an arrow that they've actually made with a point, turkey feathers. One of the things I do, the turkeys that we harvest, we are able to give the wings to Greg and Doyle, and then they are making the feathers on fletching on their arrows. Tell us a little bit, guys, how you connect this after you made the point.
Well, what I like to do is I look at the grain of the wood, and I want to go against the grain, so when you actually shoot this, it's stronger. If you go with the grain, it'll split out. And then I'll cut the groove in, and then I'll set it in a pine pitch or some other type of glue that I can use, and then I wrap it with sinew. And before it sets, I will take it and spin it on the tip and see how good it spins, and that way you get good penetration. It's not going to hurt the point, it's going to fly through, and you get the weight of the shaft in behind the point for it to do the work. I've actually had a lot of people hunt with my points for about the past 10 or 11 years now. A friend of mine has killed a couple turkeys, a wild hog, and I think it's about 33 deer that's been killed with my points.
Really?
Yeah.
I like to know, there's a plate on a wild hog,
Mm-hmm.
and this didn't have any problem penetrating that plate?
Well, he didn't do it with an arrow. He actually killed this with an atlatl.
Atlatl, okay.
And he showed me a picture of it when he got back from Florida. It was about a 125-pound hog, and the atlatl he used had a 7-foot dart. So it totally penetrated, and he had so much on each side of the hog when he recovered it.
So they not only do they make the point for the arrow, but you all make the arrows and the fletching, and then you use them with the bows that you all make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You explain, Doyle, the atlatl, the concept behind it, so that our viewers would know. For those that have no knowledge at all, that's what we're here for. We're trying to show them. If you can explain that to them.
Okay. The atlatl predates the bow and arrow by several thousand years, and what it is a spear thrower. It is a lever. It's about 20 to 24 inches long. And the darts are roughly 5 to 7 foot long, and you have to point on it. It's a big arrow is all it is. And they used to hunt mastodons with them in prehistoric time, and the Aborigines in Australia still hunt kangaroo with them.
That atlatl, when you throw that projectile or whip that projectile to send it, there's a lot of energy.
Oh yes, extremely amount of energy, a lot more than you can get with just your arms, like if you was to throw a spear. The atlatl multiplies your thrust 4, 5, 6 times. I mean, I can double or triple my distance throwing an atlatl than I can versus just throwing a spear with my regular arm.